What is up, guys? Welcome to week 30 of the All In podcast with Babby, Bryce, and Ryan the Rock. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing really good. How are you, Bryce?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Coming off a killer week, and I'm excited and ready for the main event online this weekend. So definitely been looking forward to that. Only studying really tournaments. So yeah, it'll be a good time.
Tell us a little bit more about this. How'd you get yourself into that? That's crazy.
Yeah, so honestly, I hadn't even heard that this one was happening. I know the main event that happened like a month or two ago. That was a 5,000 buy-in, unlimited entries. But I honestly just didn't really feel the need in playing it.
Mm-hmm.
The prize pool wasn't massive, and I honestly didn't feel like the edge would be nearly as what it would be live. But at the end of the day, I think that it'll still be a pretty soft field. Like, you don't get too many 10K buy-ins that are going to be as soft as the main, because I think a lot of recreational players or celebrities or whatnot want to fire it just because of the clout.
They want
and,
to.
The prestige, as well as just the fact that the Final 9 is going to be live. We
Yeah.
talked about it a little last week, but I really don't like how the international and the domestic one is different. And then they come together for a heads-up championship for just another $1 million. I think that's really weird, but still the prize pool is going to be good. I think the tournament's going to be pretty soft considering how big of a buy-in is. I have decided to sell half my action. Right now I've only sold about 30% of it, but I'm pretty confident I can sell the last 20, and should be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. My buddy Bobby's comping me a hotel at Harrah's and AC, and yeah, it'll be a good time, man.
That's so awesome. That's great. Yeah, this is we're coming a long way here on the
Absolutely,
WinoPoker
yeah.
podcast.
I'll definitely.
We still have merchandise, which we'll be leaving links to in the description. Our main man, our media guru, has created more merch. So there's now like sweatpants and joggers and stuff, along with the masks, the hoodies, everything. So go over there. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel right now. Just a quick little pop out of this before we talk about anything else. Just hit the subscribe button, hit like if you really want to. It helps us a lot, and we're trying to build here. So, and then, rotating into the conversation here today, Bryce and I were talking about balancing in 3-bet ranges. And I wanted to start just by sharing my screen if I can. Oh, that's not sharing my screen.
Yeah, and we mainly want to focus on 3-betting ranges, but before we get into that, there's a massive difference between a 1-2, 1-3 game and a 2-5 game, in the sense that players are not balancing nearly as well as they should be in these small stakes games. Typically when they raise, especially from earlier middle position, they have a fairly strong holding. And I think it's just really important to be raising those like suited connectors, those 6-8 suited, like, I mean, so many different hands I can name, but I think people are just raising too condensed of a range, and especially not 3-bet, 4-betting, because when you get 3-bet and you just have a shit hand, like, you can pretty easily fold. Like, you can make folds with like 8s or 9s. I mean, if they only have like a 300 stack and they 3-bet to like 80, like, you just don't have the implied odds to make that call, and it's a really easy laydown, because a lot of these players aren't even doing it as loose as like ace queen suited. So you just, at best, are flipping against a hand like ace king. And obviously this is a gross oversimplification of this, but in 2-5, players are just a lot better and are balancing their ranges better, whether it be through 3-betting or raising weaker hands in middle or so position. What do you think?
Yeah, and so, what I have up right now, for those of you who don't know, this is Flopzilla. It's a really great piece of software. It doesn't cost that much. I think it only costs me like $10 and you have it forever. So it's a really useful piece of software. You can store all sorts of different ranges in it.
Yeah, zoom in just a little bit if you can, Ryan.
I can't zoom in any, which kind of sucks. That's the one downside of this. Yeah. But so these are kind of these are my 6 max ranges. So these are a lot of what I've been playing with online for online cash games. Big shout outs to Jonathan Little for helping with building these. These come a lot from him with pokercoaching.com. So over here for color coding, so you realize what it is, the green is a raise for value. The yellow is a flat call, and the blue is raise as a bluff. Now, in terms of balancing, this would look a little bit different if this were on like a solver, because a solver would show you a percentage of time that you should be raising these hands. So in terms of balancing, when we start getting into that portion of poker, that's when like the solvers come in and they start saying, okay, you should be raising this hand this percentage of the time to be profitable. And the solvers can offset for different things, for the table being tighter, for the table being looser. And those are the adaptations that we have to make in game. So this range changes a little bit in my 6-max game. If it's a crazy game, I might be opening up a little bit with my 3-betting range. Those ace jack, king jack suiteds might become a 3-bet more often. So I think that's the difference for me, is for the small stakes player, like all the ones that are 3-bets as bluffs and all the ones that are 3-bets for value, I'm trying to do that as much as possible, like almost all the time. And I think at the higher stakes, like you have to really mask a little bit more what your hands are. And for that reason, Bryce would probably flat or fold ace-10 off some percentage of the time, and more often than I would.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. Yeah, and I think that probably one of the leaks that I do see, I guess, in your game is the fact that I don't think you 3-bet wide enough. So when you do 3-bet, I'm very confident you have it. And assuming we're deep stacks, I can call you with, fairly weak holdings just because you know I'm capable of it. And it makes it really difficult for you because you have no idea where I'm at. Whereas if I'm 3-betting and you call, I know you're pretty strong. Like if a board comes out deuce 4-6, unless you have a set, I know it just never hits you. And I'm not saying you should always just be calling 3-bets with deuces by any means, but it's definitely something that's exploitable if you're not raising with marginal hands enough.
Right. And this is to mention, this is facing only an open. So this is, what range are we looking at here? Like this is button versus hijack. This isn't taking into account 3-bets. After you 3-bet, or if somebody else 3-bets in front of you, obviously this range shrinks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think there's a difference between live and online, out of curiosity?
In terms of
balancing, like, do you think one's more important than the other, or do you think it's pretty similar?
I think it's allowed me to be a lot less balanced being online because I always have Flopzilla open. I can have some sort of software where, I can pick up a hand, and if I think it's marginal, whereas live, I would say, oh, this is marginal, I'm just going to fold. I would also look at Flopzilla, and Flopzilla would say, hey, you should be bluffing this some percentage of the time. And I think that's helped me to fix that leak in my game of being a rock.
Yeah, fair enough. We've got a hand from a rock later on that I'm excited to go over. But
yes,
would you like to introduce our guest to see if he has any thoughts on this before we go into the interview section?
Absolutely would. So today on the All In Poker podcast, we are welcoming a young up-and-coming poker talent from New York. Matthew Beinner is a college student with an impressive side hustle. He's built a significant bankroll, crushing 2-5 cash games, and just 2 days ago took down the December deep stack at the Seminole Hard Rock in Florida, taking home over $18,000. Bryce and I are excited to hear about that win and much, much more. Let's welcome Matthew Beinner to the All In podcast.
All right, it's a pleasure to be here.
Dude,
what's up, man? How's it feel to score 18K as a 19-year-old?
it still hasn't even hit me. Like, it's absolutely surreal.
When Bryce sent me this, I didn't realize that it was only a few days ago until like today. Today, I realized that it was just like 2 days ago. So I totally get that. Is this like, obviously this must be just insane for you right now. Yeah. Has it, like, what is that feeling like then now? Or I'm sorry, not then now. What was your feeling like then as opposed to now?
It was just like, it was like the field wasn't that crazy. Like there was 35 people left on day 2. And like I told my parents, and it was like a cool thing, like, oh, like the winner gets 18K or whatever. But like I really didn't think I was actually going to win, and just winning like was so surreal. I'm still getting texts from people I like haven't seen in years, and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, like, yeah, I know this is crazy. Like, cause they've all known I've been playing poker my whole life now. And like I was playing 5 cent, 10 cent 6 months ago.
We cannot hear how you got the bankroll and if you were staked at all. Like, I can't wait to hear it all. But how was your stack like in day 2? And at like what point did you realize like I have a serious shot of winning this thing?
So I had about 100. There's like 5.6 million going into day 2. So that was like the what's it called, like the total chips.
Total chip. Yeah.
I had about 160K. So I was like, I think I was like 10K over average. So it was like literally average stack. and I lost 2 flips very early on. I was down to 40K like 2 hours in. Blinds were like 2.5, 5K. So I had like 9 blinds. I got it in like ace 10 versus queens, blind versus blind. The small blind went all in for 10. I called the ace 10 and I hit an ace on ace on the turn, I think it was. And then I doubled again and I got up to like 350, won a huge one where I flopped top 2 pair. I was up to like 1.1 million, like an hour into my new table. And like by the end of the final, like by the start of the final table, I think I covered the entire table.
Wow.
I think I had 4 chips in the entire table combined.
What a comeback. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was just such a dream. It was like the biggest sun run I've ever been on in my entire life. So
That's so sick. So yeah, you mentioned you have been playing poker your whole life. What exactly got you into poker? Who introduced you to the game? All that good stuff.
Oh yeah, so funny story. My sister's baby nurse actually taught me how to play, and I was 6 years old at the time, and like literally I was not playing like every once in a while. Like I was grinding on Poker Stars like play money when I was like 6 and 7 years old. I watched every like World Series of Poker, World Poker Tour. I watched all that at like 7 and 8. At 10, I think we rented out a bar and I had a 10th birthday poker tournament with like 30 of my friends. Yeah. So poker has been like my hobby, my passion for basically my whole life now. I took like a few years where I was like barely grinding on Poker Stars, but like my dad and I worked up like a huge, like that was back when they wouldn't give you chips like every hour. Like they just give you chips every hour. I'm like this is ridiculous. Like I had like you started with 1,000, I was at like 1 million or something.
Yeah.
Over like 10 years, and then I started watching Brad Owen, Andrew Neeme, all of them like 3-4 years ago, and I wasn't as into it, but like I was like, wow, people are really making money at it still. I thought the game was like a lot more of these like European pros. I thought it wasn't as lucrative, but I went back into it. I played freshman year of college. I was grinding on Ignition, like 5 cent, 10 cent. I started up a live poker game. You're playing 25 cent, 50 cent, $20 buy-in, and I grinded that game. I think I won like 1,000 at the end of the year.
Only 40 bigs. Oh, you guys are playing short stacks.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
did you organize it? Like, did you get a group chat of guys together and stuff? And
sort of, yeah. Like, I bought the chips, and yeah, we played on like the 3rd floor of my dorm.
That's awesome.
And you just swindled your friends out of money. I love it. That's where all good poker players started.
That's exactly how Bryce and I started. Oh, that's how I started.
I started when I was like 10, buddy. I was grinding AOL poker, free poker, but if you even know what AOL is, buddy, I'm just kidding.
on AIM and stuff? Or is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But so how did that spiral into a role in which you're now playing these 2-5, 350 tournaments, etc.?
So like I like got really into Poker Bros over the summer. I was grinding like 10 cent, 20 cent, got up to like 3 or 4K playing on like some PP poker, some Poker Bros, started grinding 1-2 and I was 4-tabling 1-2. Got up to about 15K. And then I was grinding 2-5 cash with like 15 buy-ins. Like it was pretty aggressive. And I've made about like, I want to say 10K in the last 2 months or last 2 weeks grinding the cash. So I've ran very well. It's like positive variance, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This tournament now for 18. So it's like, I don't even know how much I have right now. I have to calculate it all, but it's really, I've been on such a run the last like 6 months.
Yeah, you definitely got lucky in the sense that quarantine poker has just been so sick.
Oh, so good.
Like the games are just so juicy on the Poker Bros and the PP Poker. Like I don't know if you've, I know you mentioned you rewatched some of our podcasts, but some of the hands that you may have seen like on Poker Bros, like people are just jamming like crazy horrible top pairs on the wettest of boards, and it's just like, what are you doing? But yeah, definitely awesome. You got into these soft games and ran up your bankroll, and to be able to fire these $300 tournaments. Like, is that your like biggest buy-in tournament to date?
Yeah, it actually is.
And you just ship it? That's so sick.
I just shipped it. I gave my friend 10%, so he's got 10% of it. But yeah. Wow. I gave my dad 10%. He's like, you can keep it. He's like, this is like such a big deal. Like, So my dad's awesome. Shout out to him. He actually railed my final table, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we didn't have this question, but are your parents pretty supportive? Because mine initially weren't, but definitely now are completely backing of me. Like I told my mom I was gonna fire the main, and she was like, "Oh, like you're only taking 5K of yourself? That's not much." When 2 years ago I was like, I lost $300, and she was like, "Oh my god!" Like I know Ryan hasn't yet had that experience of his parents being unsupportive, but it's awesome you
not
do.
of that, but yeah, we'll get there one day.
Like I think I showed them like my Hold'em manager stats, my poker tracker. I've showed them like everything I'm doing, like my ranges. Like I've showed them I've just basically tried to make it as like official as possible,
Yeah.
And, they've been pretty supportive now. Like if I end up going pro, it's going to be a difficult thing to bring up, Like I don't know how supportive they're going to be at that point, but they're definitely supportive right now. I mean, they're seeing how well I'm doing. My mom showing me off. I'm like, oh my god.
It's gonna be really, really difficult for you as you become a professional poker player when you like bank a really big tournament, because people are going to interview and be like, "Oh, hello, Fedor Holtz. How are you doing today?"
Yeah.
And I just think that your doppelganger is going to be a problem for you later on. Everyone, it might not be a problem if people are sitting at the table and think you're Fedor Holtz. That's
you think him and Fedor are like that similar?
A little bit, enough.
A little. I see it a little.
If Fedor had no facial hair, yes.
There you go.
That's the argument I'm making. He's Fedor with a clean shave. One of the questions I want to ask is, what does it feel like being as young as you are and taking money in these 2-5 games from people who are much older than you? Do the people know that you're older or know that you're younger? And has it ever tilted anyone that you're just torching them?
Tell the story from yesterday. I found that pretty amusing.
I guess a few people have asked me. It's usually like the dealers who will ask me how old I am. It's like, I'm buying in for one for like $1,000, right? And it's not like they don't think like a 19-year-old is buying in for 1,000. Plus, I'm like wearing a mask, and like I know how young I look right now. Like I don't even look. I'm 19. I don't even look 19. So yeah, but a few people have asked me, and it's also funny because like the people who are playing, it's Florida, so it's like a lot of retired people.
Yeah,
so, like these guys are like older than 70. It's not even 70. It's like 80. Like some people I look like they're like 90 years old.
Wow.
And then the scene's kind of crazy. There's a lot of these guys who look like they're like rappers, and they're just huge. And they have these like diamond chains like this big. I'm talking like huge, and they're crazy. They'll straddle to 10 in every single position. So like,
you guys can straddle any position in Florida. I forgot about that. I haven't played there in a few years.
It's crazy. They're crazy games. So
it's so sick. That's awesome. But kind of going into you talking about potentially becoming a professional. Obviously, you're in college right now. Do you want to talk about a little bit what you're studying as well as what your potential plans are post grad? Obviously, you're a sophomore, but if you've thought about that at all, or if you do want to decide to take the professional route.
So the dream right now is probably to just like work in the industry. Like I would love to be like either doing marketing or finance for like, let's say like a PokerStars or like, I'd love to work for one of those companies, maybe like a big casino.
You need to hit up Sean Deeb.
Yeah, but
Sean Deeb got into it.
I mean, the dream really would be to be pro, but like I've done a lot of research into it, and it's like it looks like in theory it sounds like so much fun. But I remember you were saying like, Ryan, like poker playing for profit is different than playing as an income, right? I think you were saying that.
Yes,
I think that's definitely like I haven't played as for an income, and I feel like it would be like kind of a grind,
Yeah.
I mean, 100% it would be a grind. Obviously, you've had a lot of success, and it sounds like your game selection's been pretty good. But also just like if you only have, say, like a 25K roll, and if you're playing 2-5, like that's only 25 buy-ins. Like one sick run could wipe out half your bankroll. I mean, it sounds like it's more than that now after your tournament score. But just like it is different though when you're young. Like if you graduated and like lived in your parents' basement for a month, the amount of money and bankroll you'd have, like your expenses would be essentially zero, and your success rate and risk of ruin would be a lot lower than if you had like a family of 4 and like had to provide for them. So I mean, I definitely am more of an advocate for like getting a job, at least initially. But like, I mean, if you continue to be successful and if you put in like 1,500 hours and see that you're a profitable player and have that great hourly, I mean, go for it. But yeah, I 100% agree with Ryan that like
Yeah.
Have you experienced much of a downswing? Obviously, it sounds like you've spun around a little bit, played great, but like, because I haven't like busted a big roll in the sense of like wiping out the whole thing, but like I've lost like 35% of it, and I'm sure Ryan can also attest. Like that shit hurts. Like
Oh, yeah.
it makes you question your game. Like
Sure.
it's definitely big. Getting in these communities and getting in these hand history lounges, and definitely finding these people that you can vent to when you're down. But yeah, definitely, it's definitely something that's doable, but it is a grind, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, I'm running like extremely well. I know that right now. Like, I think my win rate's like over 30 big blinds an hour over like 70 hours or something. But that's not enough to really like, say like, oh, I'm winning this amount. I'm not winning this amount. I've spoken to a bunch of the pros there, and they said basically like 10's good, 15's really good. And I'm like,
100%.
I agree with that. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I know like my ability, like I know like it's just fair, like I know it's just like positive variance basically.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like you've put enough hours and study time to like have the confidence that you're a winning player, but a 30 big blind win rate doesn't sound like something that could be sustainable over the long run. But I mean, that's awesome.
You gotta enjoy it while you're riding it, though. Exactly.
100%.
No one, all good juju here. We're trying to keep that going.
Do you want to take the next question, Ryan?
Yeah, and next one is, in your short poker career, is there any pieces of advice that like stick with you? Is there anything that someone's told you that when you're sitting at a table making a decision kind of comes into your head? Any pieces of advice?
Definitely one is like be comfortable with the amount, like be comfortable losing the amount that you have on the table. I know people, I now run a game in my college. It's like a 1-2 game. And I think it's like the biggest game in my college, but it's not like that big, but some people will not even have a grand and they're playing, right? And I'm just like, then just don't play. Like we don't have to play today. Like it's been a struggle to find people because people are just busting their roll, right? And it's like, I don't want to play anymore if I'm actually going to like affect, like their.
We had that issue too, and we were playing small stakes, but college kids don't have money. Like college is so expensive these days, and like a lot of people don't even work. Like, I get that feeling bad side of things. Gosh, what was I gonna say?
Bankroll management's important, man. Yeah,
that is someone wanted us to talk about
college
that
kids is that they're just getting into it kind of half off. They're just like, all right, I'll throw a couple $100 on there, and then that couple $100 becomes 1,000 really quick, and they have no idea what hit them. That's called bankroll management.
Oh, what I was gonna say,
Ryan, it feel like a truck the first time you have a downswing.
When were we talking on the phone, Ryan? I can't remember what we were talking about, but you were like, "Oh, did they get emotionally attached to their chips?" Like I think I was talking about someone tilting or something, and you just like gave them so much shit. But don't really get an emotional attachment to your chips, whether it be a tournament or a cash game. Like what you have on the table, you 100% are susceptible to lose, and bad beats are gonna happen. And if you can't handle losing, if you can't handle getting too outed, like poker's not the game for you. Obviously, it's gonna hurt, but like you can't let it affect your play. Tilt will ruin bankrolls. What'd you say?
There's pot limit hold'em. There's spread limit. There's pot limit Omaha. Those sort of games have a little. I mean, they definitely have a lot of variance, but. Because you can't shove at any point in time.
Did you just say PLO?
Yeah, PLO's got a little bit of variance. Yeah, definitely. Not a high variance game at all.
But that's definitely good advice. One of our last questions for you is, who has influenced your play as a poker player? Who are your personal favorite players to watch or model your game after? I know you mentioned watching Andrew Neeme and Brad Owen, but who would you really say you play like the most, and who do you enjoy watching the most?
Wow. Okay. I've definitely been on like the upswing grind. Ryan Fee. Solve for Why. I've grinded a lot of Solve for Why, a lot of Run It Once. I've been on all the training sites. Matt Berkey's probably my favorite player in poker.
Interesting. He's a very polarizing person. Some people think like basically his self-created dictionary they make fun of a lot. I like Matt Berkey a lot, and the Solve for Why Out Loud or whatever is probably my favorite thing to watch. Even though there's only been like 5 or 6 episodes, it's just
so cool,
amazing to hear them articulate their thought process.
But in the moment,
definitely good answer. But
I recommend $10 a month now. I recommend.
Yeah, I've been I was on the Solve for YTV thing for a while.
Mhm.
The only thing I think Berkey's not the best lecturer. Let's put it that
Mhm.
way. Sitting through an hour-long Berkey lecture about, the exploitative matrix is a little
Mhm.
hard to do because he's not exactly the most engaging speaker in the world. But I think a lot of the other coaches on there are a lot of fun, and I think it's totally worth it to do anything. And if you can't spend the extra money on it, go see what is it? It's Poker Out Loud. Go right now on YouTube after you're done with us and go look at Poker Out Loud.
Absolutely. Do you have any closing thoughts, Ryan, before we go into the hand histories?
No, we have you sent us some really interesting hand
Yeah.
histories.
I
I think
played some crazy hands, believe me.
these two are a lot of fun.
So I always do not look at the hands, just as a preface for those who.
at the hands. My name's Bryce. I'm 2-4.
And yeah, Ryan normally will look at the hands and still have a bad thought process. So
Yeah, I'll stew a little bit about it.
all right, definitely zoom in a little bit for us.
Here. Can I zoom in?
Thank you. Yes, you can. Let's go a little. Perfect.
It's hard for me to click the buttons, but we'll do it.
We'll manage.
So we get 2 limps here from early position, and it comes to you here on the button.
This is live, right? Just to get
This
a little
is
context.
Live 2-5 at the Hard Rock Hollywood. Yeah.
Awesome.
And we're sitting here on the button with 6-7 of diamonds.
Gonna assume, yep, we pop it up.
Mhm.
I like this sizing. Ryan will not go big enough here, and you did. So good
Fight
job.
me.
They were holding a lot, so against people who are limp calling, the thing is we're also very deep. Basically everyone had at least 1K, so we're pretty deep. 6-7 suited plays very well, deep stacked. So
I mean, it's 4x. I mean, it's a little bigger than 4x plus 2, which, again, I know we've reiterated a ton of times, but you want to add 1x per limper, and we went a little bigger than that, but I think it's totally fine. I might elect to just go 30 here just on the fact that we're in position, but I don't know the table dynamic, so if these guys are calling late, you could get more value and print more money by raising this bigger.
Exactly.
So I can't squabble.
We can't blame you for going a little bigger. Exactly, yeah.
I prefer bigger to smaller, so.
Exactly.
All right, let's see what happens.
Oh, nice. So we get big blind 3-bet up to 90.
Not a huge 3-bet. This kind of just looks like an ISO. I mean, at the same time, he could just be thinking you're raising kind of light here against these limpers. But yeah, obviously, I think just a flat's probably the move, and I'm assuming that's what you probably do.
I thought it was really suspect, given that he's out of position for him to go that small.
I think it could look value-y, but it also could just be an ISO with I think a middling pair, you know what I mean? Nines to jacks. I mean, obviously
right. This is big blind versus button, so he can be very, very wide there.
I think we can't squabble over his range too much. All right, interesting flop. I'm assuming villain leads out. Yeah. Wow, very, very small. I mean, it's a fairly dry board, but considering obviously we're not going anywhere, I'm interested to whether you call or raise. What are your thoughts here?
So I was thinking. So this is actually a reg. So that's the sizing on the 3-bet really got me. And he actually, this was towards the beginning of when I was playing. Now I know he's basically never 3-betting as a bluff. So I definitely be very suspect about this. But I assume this small bet is a quarter pot. I assume he's doing this with his entire range.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I decided to go for the raise here. So let's see how it goes.
Yes.
Interesting. I mean, I definitely think we should be raising some percentage of the time. And I mean, we put a lot of pressure on hands like nines through jacks in the sense on the turn, if we decide to bet again, especially fairly large, we can probably get him to fold. And considering we have so much equity and backdoor equity, I mean, we have the gut shot as well as the backdoor flush draw. I think it's okay. It puts us in a little, I don't know, we're still pretty deep. If we were shorter, I wouldn't like this, but considering we're so deep, I actually think I slightly lean raise. So I do like this raise. In terms of the sizing, I think it's pretty good. I like the sizing.
I think the solver agrees with you. I think
yes, exactly. So I think he's actually going to significantly overfold to this raise. Looking at some of the support I've done, ace jack of spades, ace 10 of diamonds, he's supposed to be continuing his hands, and he's just not going to do it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So we're really forcing him to play straightforward.
And I actually do think it's different considering you're live. I could be wrong, but I think like a young kid's table image, like I don't think he's expecting you, especially if he doesn't have a history with you, to be raising a hand like 6-7 of diamonds. You know what I mean?
My image is pretty tight as well. Yeah.
So I like the raise and I like the sizing. I might go a little bigger, 165, 170, but again, I'm just
right. That's just a little nitpick.
But I like it. So
turn gin.
Oh my god! All right, what does the villain decide to do?
Oh, so good.
Bomb it. Nope.
Okay.
He checks. Ooh. What are we
very interesting into your sizing.
Is...
Obviously, at this point, we're trying to get all the money in, and we're just figuring out how to do that. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even know exactly how I would size. I would probably size like 325, 340, because we don't. Right. If we size huge and just polarize it, I think if we size like 325, 340, we can still keep in sometimes his like jacks and queens. I mean, he should be folding here, but if we just decide to bomb pot, I think he gets away from it very easily. I'm so curious as to how he would play a hand like king queen suited here.
Well, yeah, that's a good one. I think I might just check back and go for another street of value on the river.
Interesting. Do you decide to check or bet it?
This one I decided to bet.
Okay, 275. I actually might like this sizing better because I mean he shouldn't expect you to have exactly backdoor diamonds all too often. So this is kind of a brick. It's not a massive brick, but like, what does he think you're raising with? I mean, 6-7 suited is fairly standard, but I don't think he's putting you on that all too often.
Right. I think the 5 is actually a great card for my range as well because I would be bluffing with like ace-2, ace-5 that picks up.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's definitely better for your range, especially as he's the. So I don't think he can really raise you here ever. Even with a hand like ace king, I think it's suicide because he needs to keep your bluffs in. So yeah, I think he's just flatting here all of the time, and I think it'd be a pretty boring hand if he doesn't call this turn. So I'm assuming he flicks in the call. Yeah. Interesting. Not the best card in the world, but
it's also not the most terrifying.
I don't, unless he has exactly pocket kings. I think I would here all of the time. Yeah, and unless we're barreling with like 4 or 5, it doesn't change that much unless he thinks we bowed up. But like if we had him, oh wow, that's interesting because he would counterfeit us if we had a hand like 4-3. But yeah, I'm assuming he checks and we jam and he calls.
Nope.
Oh wow, he jams snap.
Whoa.
Snap. Oh, no discussion. Snap.
Yeah.
550, but I mean we're never folding here.
Never. Yeah, I don't really think there's any hesitation. That's crazy. Did he do anything? Did he do any? Was it like a snap shove? Was it a tank for 5 minutes?
Yeah, like 15 seconds maybe. But like I don't even think we do this with kings. It doesn't really make.
I think he's doing this with like king, queen, king, jack, hoping you got counterfeited. I literally think that's the only thing he can do it with. I really hope we find out his hand because I'm like 90% sure we're good here.
There you go.
This is. Yeah, just doesn't. It's just not good. I
hate his line. What do you think is calling you? Do you think like if we have ace king, we're probably 4-betting here a decent percentage of the time, and if we have king, like the only hand he gets value from sometimes is king queen. Like that is the only thing he can possibly target.
Right. It's a really bad overplay of the aces. If
we have a counterfeited like 3-4, I mean, we're probably just going to check that back. But sometimes we'll decide to bluff jam that, and he can just snap us off. There's absolutely zero merit in him jamming this river. What's up, Trent? How's it going? Had a good coaching session yesterday. Looking forward to next week. But
awesome.
Yeah, I think this is a very easy snap. Absolutely nothing to think about. I think his line was horrible, but he has literally kings is all he has. Like the combos of kings, and if he has it, nice hand, man. Tap the table and that's it.
Right. And people tend to confuse those kind of spots with spots where they get it in and they lose and they don't realize that they just got it in horribly. This is a spot where like literally there's one hand that makes sense and there's only 3 combinations of it. And you can't get scared of 3 combinations.
I hate his jam so bad on the river. Like check call all day, whatever, that's fine. but like, how are you gonna just rip it in? Like, what? You get value from literally king queen combos, and that's it.
So
But-
here we are in the tournament. At what
Ooh.
point in the tournament is this? We're at 5K, 10K blinds. Are we deep?
I think
Are we in day
I
two?
think I had like about 1 million, and the villain was in the hijack, and he had like.
Wait, you think you
360.
have 1 million in this hand?
Wait, you said you had 1 million?
You said we have 382.
Yeah, because I did the math from what you said for your it was your effective shove at the end. So you have,
yeah. So
you know what's
it
great
was-
about this is I can update it on the fly if you had a
Let's
million.
go. It's a lot better than what we were using before.
Wow. So he should have 382K, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
he has like 393.
Okay,
Cool.
what the hell just happened?
Oh no, got rid of his stack. That's okay. Whatever. It'll still show the hand as we want it to.
Okay.
So villain opens.
So there's about like 15
Oh,
people.
I like it. Ballsy kid.
Well, I didn't realize you were this deep. I was gonna say, oh, at like 30 blinds. Like I don't recommend 3-betting with Jack 7.
What is the ICM situation here? How many people are left?
So there's like 2 tables left, and this guy like has probably an above average stack, and like just playing hands with me is probably just really terrible. Like
Yeah. No. Oh, it makes sense. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. I was just curious as to like. So, are you guys already in the money at this point?
yeah, we're already.
Assuming. Yeah, I figured. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that's
okay,
good too.
gotcha.
That's important.
There's like all 36 people, and day 2 made the money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
That
standard.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
I'm assuming it goes fold call.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shot.
Let's see a flop.
Interesting. What is
So these tournament spots, I'm not so well versed.
I
thought-
mean, we're c-betting this. It's just a matter of how big we're c-betting this.
Exactly.
I personally like a smaller sizing on the flop and then like a bigger sizing on the turn, simply because we have all the better aces. If he has a hand like ace-jack, we can still put a shit ton of pressure on him on the turn. Obviously, we block the jack, but yeah, I mean, if he has a hand even like king-queen, queen-jack suited, if we bet 2 streets, especially sizing up that turn a little bit, we're going to get rid of a lot of his hands. If he doesn't have a 2-pair hand on this turn, and we also block diamond draws,
Yeah.
I think we're going to get him away from this hand on the turn a lot. I think he's going to be calling this flop a ton. Any queen's going to call, any ace is going to call diamonds, although we block it. And he really, like, what hand does he have? King 10 of diamonds? I mean, that's really only the combo that makes sense. But yeah, so I would look to bet maybe 30% pot on this flop.
Oh, you
So
really
we
are
go-
gonna like this guy, aren't you?
I like the sizing a lot, man. And I'm assuming he continues, because again, this would be a boring hand. But I like the sizing. I'm interested to see how you play turn.
And I think this is a really nice sizing, especially considering we can operate pretty easily against a check raise here. Like if he were to check raise and then try to jam, like we can call profitably and fold on turns that we don't like.
Depends on the raise sizing.
Because
Because we have all the ace kings. I mean, if he just raises massively, I think we can just get away.
Yeah, I think he actually had less. I think he has like
He has like 100,000 less than what's on here. I
I
think.
think he has like 280 right now. So
Yeah.
like
This is a sticky situation, this turn card. This is not the best turn card in the world. While we have more ace king and ace queens, he does have way more ace tens. We did pick up the gutter. God, this is interesting. I'm assuming he checks. Let's see what happens. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Because, SPR here just makes it so sticky. Wow, okay. I love it. Exactly what I would do. Max pressure. I love it. Yeah, because I mean, if he has a hand like ace-9, he's just insta-mucking this. If he has a hand like king-queen, he should be insta-mucking this. Do you really want to put your life away with second pair and a gut shot? No. So yeah, I mean, I think we're really only getting called by ace-queen, ace-10, jack-king here. And I don't expect him to have a set of queens that often, because I think he should honestly be raising the flop a decent percentage of the time. Just targeting ace-king. Yeah, I mean, I
think
love it.
I think the strongest hand he could really have, like he occasionally has ace queen offsuit. Maybe some king jack suited, but I block.
Do you think ace 10 suited can be raising here? I mean, he's pretty deep in middle position. I think that's totally a hand he can also have. Ace queen off ace 10. I agree with you. Your range
combos.
that.
So it's not like there's only 2 combos ace 10 suited. So I think ace queen offsuit is probably the most
likely hand that we're fucked by. I 100% agree. Max pressure is definitely the move here, and I hope we get a fold.
So he goes for the fold, yes. And he had a jack of hearts, and he actually tanked for like 3 minutes and was like, I can't believe I'm going to fold this. And I'm like, and everyone was looking at him like.
Wait, what did you say? Did he say he said he had the jack of.
Queen jack of hearts.
Interesting.
I'm going to fold this right now. Like, you guys are going to laugh at me. That's what he said. And I'm quoting him right now. That's what he said. And everyone was like laughing at him because he took so long to fold. And then I was like, of course I have it. Like, have I bluffed all day?
That's what I would say. I love this kid. This kid is just like me, bro. So, I was literally in a home game the other night, and it was people who I knew like didn't have huge rolls. We were playing a fairly small game, but I was literally just barreling into them. Like, I made like 6 buy-ins in like a small game just because I was putting max pressure. And they'd ask me if I had it, and sometimes I would show it, but then they'd be like, "Oh, did you have it?" I was like, "Bro, of course I had it. You think I'm gonna bluff you? Like, I know you're a good player or something." Like, it's just so funny. But yeah, I like how you played it. I definitely look to size up that turn, and on that turn card specifically, I think a jam 100% is the best move there. Because if you bet small, he might just rip it in with his queen jack, and just put max pressure on you, thinking he has some fold equity. Because he's not going to put in more money just to fold a river. So the
only problem I was thinking about, like the way I played the hand was, I like the SPR we had, like when I bet like quarter pot there, his only check raise is like a jam, right?
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna have to fold to the jam, and like I like get blown off my equity like so much by folding.
Do you mean on the fold or on the flop?
On the flop.
Yeah. Flop, right? So like I was thinking maybe like if I checked back flop. And then,
I think checking back flop is too weak unless you had a hand like ace queen or like a set of aces or a set of queens. I just don't see you checking that flop all too often.
Yeah.
And I think he could just see that weakness and exploit that. I mean, obviously, some percentage of the time, I think it checks totally fine. And I do agree that getting blown off with that hand with pretty good equity sucks. But at the same time, like I don't think he's raising the flop often at all. Because like you said, I mean, ace queen doesn't make sense, the offsuit ace queens, but like that's really all he's going to be raising flop with.
Yeah, I agree actually. And like I'm like the chip leader, so like I can easily call a check raise with other hands. So I'm going to have hands. Like I'm going to have
better spots.
But props to you, first live tournament, biggest tournament, just putting pressure on with a big stack. That's what you got to. There we go.
Yeah, there it is.
The trophy. Let's go, man.
But it still doesn't feel real, honestly. It's
wait, that was our second hand, right?
Yeah, that was it.
But yeah, I would love to have you on, Matthew. We cannot wait to see your story. I'm sure I'll be visiting Florida at some point. COVID calms down a little bit, but love to meet up with you. Love to grind some 2-5. I was about to say have some beers, but parents are watching. Maybe not.
We don't have to tell them.
There
below.
There we go. But thank you so much for coming on. Loved having you. Congrats on your bank. Look forward to seeing you just crushing it.
Thanks a lot.
All right, you have a great night, Matthew.
Take care.
You too. That is a very articulate young man. He's going to do big things in poker, for sure.
Bryce,
what is this? Some nice merch. Where'd this come from?
Is that our all-in podcast merchandise?
I think it is. Link in the description. Go cop some.
Da, 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 da. It's really nice. I'm wearing it right now.
The only thing we really need to work on, which I think he already tweaked, were the masks. They didn't come out as perfectly as we'd hoped.
I think he moved the logo. So now
there we go. Perfect. We've got one more hand for you guys. A good buddy of mine, TJ, submitted a few hands to talk about in our hand history chat this week. Quit being a nit, first of all. But we're gonna get into your hand.
So we're playing 5-handed. I believe is this at Maryland Lives? TJ in Maryland?
Don't think it's Maryland Live.
Okay.
Don't know where he's from. Maryland, New Jersey, and New York. I should really know that. But if it was Maryland Live, why have we not met up yet?
That's funny. So we're completing here in the small blind with King 3 of Hearts after 3 limps. 5-handed. I don't know. I'm fine with that. I don't think you should fold here. I think you can raise as long as there's a lot of limp folding going on at your table. If there's a lot of limp calling, we don't want to bump it up with king 3 suited. In that case, you know, it's a good, decent hand. We're getting amazing odds. Put in $2 more bucks to win.
It's fine.
15. I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. In position, if I was on the button, I'd probably just squeeze because I love squeezing limpers, even with shit hands.
Yeah, but in position, that's fine.
Yeah, this is fine. So we're just gonna check call here all day, I'm sure. So let's see what happens.
I agree.
I remember this hand. I've already discussed this hand. So yeah, he decides to go for a pot, which TJ said I think that this guy had been hella aggressive.
He even stated that he had been pretty tilted after.
Yeah, tilted as well. So if he bets like 10 to 12 here, I'm snapping all day. A pot-sized bet, I would be folding some percentage of the time, but considering it's against someone who's hella tilted, if we hit so many cards in the deck, 3 king heart, like we can make a ton of money on this hand. So considering our implied odds, if we do improve our hand, I think we're behind here most of the time. Right. But I think a call is fine considering the implied odds of a tilted bad player.
You ever check raise this year?
No.
Yeah, and I think especially considering it's
not against a tilted player
and in a limped pot. You got to think about the ranges 100%. Are so wide here that like he feasibly has every single combination of hands. He can have 3-7, queen 7, queen 3s. I mean, he can have it all. So
I'm never raising here 0% of the time.
Turn comes in 9 on hearts.
Pretty good card. Do we go for the check call or check raise?
He goes 20 into 45.
What is this man doing?
He bombs the flop, and he's like, I'm a bet half pot on the turn.
Yeah, TJ actually said his sizings, like he would size the flop, turn, and river the exact same. And I actually know some players like that. I'm just going to freaking call out Fizz because he's probably not listening to this. Her sizings are so horrible. That's so horrible. You literally
good
bet
friend
the
of
same
ours.
size every stream. But anyways, definitely a little sus of a sizing. I think I still look to just call here. I think there is some merit in raising. I think this is actually like a weirdly polarizing bet because I think he's either just trying to take a stab at it with nothing and thinks that like if you're just calling, maybe you're weak. But at the same time, like if he was very, very strong, but let's think like what very strong hands does he have in a limp pot? Like pocket queens, pocket 7s even don't make sense. So like, are we putting him on queen 7, queen 9, pocket 3s? Not really pocket 3s. We block there's one single combination of pocket 3s.
I totally agree with you.
I actually think a check raise does make sense here some percentage of the time, but also if we're gonna check raise, you have to barrel river. And I know TJ's a little skeptical in like being aggressive in 2 streets when your opponent still calls. But if you're gonna raise this turn, you have to absolutely put maximum pressure on this river. And I think it actually works a decent percentage of the time.
Yeah.
So I think you could go either way here. I would look to raise. I don't even think you have to raise massive. I think you could go 65 or 70, and that looks hella strong. Or you could just look to call and hope for a good river, or just decide to steal it on the river. But
so this is an interesting question for you. I mean, Bryce, if this board bricks out, say the river comes, I don't know, like I don't really know what would be a dud card on this board, to be honest with you. Maybe like a 5? I don't know. Like, the 5 of clubs.
I think he has a lot of queens here. If we don't check raise this turn, I don't look to bluff river. If we check raise this turn, I am bluffing river. But if he has a hand like queen 2, queen 5, I'm kind of putting him on a shit queen at this point. Yeah. So if he had a hand like 7-9, don't you see him not potting flop? I mean, unless he's just a massive luck box, but this sizing doesn't really make sense. So I don't know. If it could go either way, but you really just need to have a strategy and implement that strategy on the river, and you can't be scared about it. If you decide to check raise this turn, if you give up, like, quit poker.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Because I mean,
I don't
what
mind
sets does he have?
As long as you don't fold, that's fine. Yeah, I agree. The only
call.
that we're scared of, I think, is 3s, and obviously there's only one combination, so we can't be scared of sets here.
Yeah, check call is fine.
I mean, obviously, I don't really think he's gonna have 4s here.
I can't remember if this was the hand that we critiqued him on in the chat, because I remember him getting to his flush on the river and sizing so tiny. If he leads here for like $30, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Oh man. You can go a lot. I mean, Yeah, I don't know if you could go a lot.
Like, I don't even like, I don't like betting 40. At this point, check raise if you're going to bet that
Yeah,
big small. You're
especially
losing so
so
much
big.
value. Like, either go near pot. Like, do you really think he's going to put you on a backdoor flush draw all that often? Especially a fish tilted player. They're going to convince themselves, they're going to be like, there's no way that they like went runner flush. You know what I mean? You know that mentality of those players?
Yes.
And then there's, oh, that's so effing sick. Like, oh my God, how do you call my pot size flop? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Like,
turn, and now you're, going for pot on the river. They might still pay you off. You're gonna make a lot more money.
When you bet 40, you absolutely eliminate him re-raising you with a queen because there is that possibility you have a flush. And at this point, we think he has a shit queen. And I think some percentage of the time he decides to bluff a shit queen, and you could re-raise him, and there's a chance he calls, but he's not going to put more aggression on the river when your line literally goes call, bet river. Like that signifies a lot of strength. And if you're going to do that, you need to size up and like end of story. Like you need to be going at least 60 here. I like 65, 70. I think someone in the chat even said overbet. I don't like that as much, but I mean, you could mix that in some percentage of the time. I think you just need to go way bigger than this.
I think on a slightly more coordinated board, I'd be more comfortable with an overbet. Like if
I agree, 100% agree.
Maybe that 7 was an 8 and that 4 was like a 10, then there's, more of like a 3-liner to a straight and 3 to a flush there, and there's a chance he's going to call you with a straight. I think that's a much better spot to go for the overbet.
Yeah. I think you just size up.
Closer to pot.
You don't even go half pot here. Like, and I think the more important thing to realize is like, what implied odds do you think you have on the turn if you're only betting 40? Most of the time, you're not going to get there. Like, you played this hand so passively on a brick river, I think you're checking and you're literally
you're losing every time.
You're losing so much money on this play if you're just going to decide to check call turn and bet small on river.
Right.
Either like you won the hand and you won money, but you just lost so much money on the table here.
That's a really interesting point. And I think that's an interesting thing that's like hard to get in your mind at the beginning, especially because you're just looking at each spot in like a super vacuum, and you're just
and some
about
people
it
just want thin value. You're like, oh, I think he might not have a great hand here. Like, I just want some money, but that can't be the mentality. If you're calling turn, you just can't have that mentality. But I mean, this is a very good poker player, and I think you can print money against these shitty live rigs. But you botched this hand a little bit, buddy. But yeah, thank you so much for another great episode. I still have about 20% of my action for the main if anyone is listening to this for this weekend.
Go ahead and hop on Instagram, hit up Babby Bryce.
Selling at a 1.10 markup, so if you want to buy like 500, that's like 550. We're gonna ship it. Okay, I can't say that. I feel good about this. I've been crushing the last month, 2 months. Feel good. Can't wait. And yeah, do you have any closing thoughts, Ryan?
I'll be trying to help somewhat in terms of when Bryce is like either really tilted after hands or other things. He'll FaceTime me at some point.
I'll call you during the
really
breaks,
good news or really bad news. But no, looking forward to more interviews coming up with us here. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Please be sure to check out our merch that we're going to link below. Thank you again to Matthew Beinner for coming on to the podcast. You are a fabulous, fabulous guest. And yeah, that's all I got for you.
Absolutely. I don't think I've had anyone other than WV King who has literally like almost the exact same thought process as me and plays hands so similarly. So I love it. Hope to play with you one day, Matthew. And thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you guys next week.